Welcome to A Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach with Mark Gellard and Candy Reed, sponsored by the ERT 300. Well, hello everyone and a warm welcome to Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. We've got a first today on the podcast because we have a current Wimbledon champion in Henry Patten. Henry, I'd imagine that doesn't get old to hear that, a Wimbledon champion.
No, it doesn't actually, frankly. It never does. And yeah, I'm often getting pictures of people visiting the club and sending photos of my name kind of up on the board, which, yeah, is completely surreal. And yeah, I guess I'll always have that. That's kind of set in now that I will always be on that board for the rest of my life, which, yeah, is an absolute privilege. So
that is
yeah,
incredible.
it won't get old.
If you told your 10-year-old self that you would be a Wimbledon champion, would he have believed it?
No. I wouldn't even have been remotely thinking about being Wimbledon champion when I was 10 years old, let alone 15 years old. If you'd have told me that 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. So yeah, it's I feel very, very privileged and lucky and all the rest of it. Yeah.
That brings me swiftly on to my next question, because the first time we met, you were playing with Julian Cash. I met you in Australia. Julian was working with Barry Fulcher, who I know from British tennis. And at the time, you were doing well, but you certainly weren't top of the tree. What has changed since that moment that we met in Australia?
Ooh, a lot of things. Well, firstly, I'm not playing with Julian anymore, but there's no bad blood there. There's no bad blood there. We're still great friends, train together
And he's
all the
doing
time.
brilliantly as well.
He's doing brilliantly well. All of the Brits really are doing amazing well. I think we've got 7 Brits in the top 50 rankings of doubles, which is incredible to be a part of that. What's changed? A lot. I mean, I'm in Rome this week at the Masters 1000 event. I think we were playing challenges this time last year, me and Harry. So yeah, everything is very different. I think this is officially the first tournament that me and Harry have played for a second time.
Okay.
And yeah, we played in Monte Carlo, my first time, Indian Wells, Miami, my first time. So yeah, it's bizarre because we're going into those tournaments as the second seeds now, but it's still the first time I've ever played them. So it's an interesting position to be in. I'm not sure that's all that common.
That is absolutely crazy. And I've heard from other players, me having got nowhere near to your level, that the first or second time at tournaments is a bit weird because you still don't quite know where to go. You're still asking questions about where do you get accreditation, where's lunch, the hotel, and how to get from A to B. After that, of course, you feel settled once you've been to tournaments multiple times. Is that still happening to you? You're a bit sort of, what on earth is going on?
All the time. Yeah. I mean, I'm usually pretty good after a few days. But yeah, like you said, everything, you need to pick up your accreditation. You need to figure out where the transport desk is in the hotel and, all of these boring things. When the laundry comes back, it's like all these things, really useful little bits of information that I have no idea about. Luckily, Harry has been up to, 7 in the world before he was playing with me. So quite often I'm just kind of tagging along. Or the other Brits as well. So Neil and Joe, they're quite handy to be close to because I can always rely on them for a tip or two.
Now, Harry Heliovara is your regular partner, and I read actually on the ATP Tour website that he kind of had his eye on you, even though you were ranked very differently. He was higher than you were. He kind of looked at you and thought that could be a potential partner for me. So just explain how you two got together.
Yeah. So well, yeah, I guess so. No, but so Harry, obviously I'm part of the British system, and Harry had been playing with a Brit. So there's that. He knows Louis Caillet, who heads up the British doubles system very well. And yeah, we were both struggling a little bit. He wasn't doing so well with his partner. I wasn't doing so well with mine, and he was still ranked a little bit higher than me in the rankings, but I think took a chance on me. He was ready to kind of go back to challenges. He was tired of kind of chasing ranking points and really wanted a long-term partnership that worked. And yeah, obviously I kind of jumped at that opportunity. A guy who's that experienced and who had a better ranking than me. So it was good for me. And yeah, I think, he made a good decision there, I think.
Very good decision. Why do you think it works so well? We've got a lefty and a righty. You're quite a bit taller than him. Why do you think you play so well together?
Yeah, so I think all of, from a double standpoint, you're ticking a lot of boxes with us. Lefty righty, like you said, he's very good with kind of finesse shots, and is very active at the net. And I'm more of kind of, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm more of a power player. So, from a tennis standpoint, that all kind of checks out
Yeah.
on paper. That, it doesn't always go as smoothly as you hope, but yeah, we get along very well. We played our first week in Marrakesh, which is generally quite a challenging place to play tennis. But yeah, hit it off straight away. I had my girlfriend there. He had, both of his coaches there, and yeah, I think we, from the very first week, got along extremely well.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. We've been lucky in that way.
Is it important to get on well off the court as well as on the court? Because I've heard different stories from doubles players saying some of them really like to have a really great relationship with them off the court. Others say, no, we're doubles partners. We kind of separate. We do our own thing. We come onto court. We have the same idea once we get on court.
Well, I think it helps. I think because, yeah, even if you do take that kind of business approach, this is a business relationship and that kind of partnership. You are still spending an awful lot of time together on court every day, practicing and traveling to the same events as well. So I think it helps if you get along to some degree. For me personally, I love to have someone that I can go out to dinner with on occasion. Here in Rome, we've been out to dinner the last couple of nights and travel with and genuinely enjoy spending time with. Yeah, I've been to his place in Finland to train. He's been to London and to North Carolina, where I'm based a lot of the time to train. So yeah, we have a great time, and I think it's benefited us both massively.
Yeah, no, it's a really good partnership, and that's lovely to hear. I know that you are based, like you said, in North Carolina. Your girlfriend is there. How and why are you there? You did the college system, and why did you decide on where you went?
Where I went for college,
Yes,
well, they were one of the only people that would take me. So there's, firstly, there's that. They gave me a scholarship,
that's very
and
truthful.
I wasn't in a position where I had, all of these massive universities putting bids on me. So yeah, they gave me a nice scholarship. The coach there knew my coach. He was originally British, and so Tom Hand was the coach in college, and actually
Yeah,
Andrew Richardson was coaching me at my academy.
yeah,
So yeah, they knew each other, and yeah, that was it. I didn't go and visit Asheville, which is an amazing city in North Carolina, before I
agreed.
went, and again, just got very lucky. It sounds like I'm just getting lucky all the time. Yeah, I'm very thankful for those decisions, because it really feels like, that one especially was just massive for me, massive,
Yeah.
massive.
I remember Joe Salisbury talking about he went to Memphis. I went to the University of Tennessee, and he said at Memphis, he and his partner there were actually given a wild card into the Memphis tournament, the ATP tournament. They played, I think, the top seeds and lost. I think maybe it was the Bryan brothers and lost narrowly, but that kind of gave Joe the impetus and the belief that he could handle it at the top level. Was there anything like that for you?
No, no. Even to be honest, throughout college, I did quite well in the university events, but there weren't really any professional events around Asheville that I would have gotten a wild card into. I went to watch the Winston-Salem Open one year, but I mean, I was a million miles off playing in that. But once I graduated and I saw other people around me kind of trying to play professionally, I think that gave me belief that I could do it and compete. And I wanted to give it a go. It's the only time in your life that you're able to do that. So I thought, why not
Yeah.
take a chance? And
And
yeah,
your
here we are.
family was supportive of that? They thought it was the right decision?
Yeah, they were. I mean, pretty skeptical. I would say certainly, there was a stage where they were asking, how does this work? You're traveling to these places. I was playing money tournaments to try and finance it, and then spending all of that money. Not that it was very much in the first place. So there's a period as a professional tennis player where you're investing in yourself, as I like to put it, but you're losing money basically.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of qualm some of that and talk them through how it was going to work. And yeah, they were incredibly supportive. They love to watch me play, and obviously have been a huge part of me playing tennis, since I was 5 years old. So they were all for it, but I had to explain how it all worked.
Did you have a backup plan?
No, I didn't have a backup plan. But I mean, sort of right before I decided to play professionally, I was offered a job at Ernst Young, which is an accounting firm, and that was kind of when I was kind of floating around playing tennis, and that was the moment when I had to decide. I've got to. There's a clear split in the road here, and I have to take one of these paths, and yeah, chose tennis. So I think I would have been okay, but I'm extremely glad that yeah, I trod this path.
My dad always used to say, "You make your own luck," and it sounds like you've done that just by making good choices that have worked out in your favour. Let's talk a little bit about coaching. So you mentioned Andy Richardson, who of course famously took Emma Raducanu to the US Open. I've actually given Andrew's son a lesson. He's a very good little player. But I'd love to know how you got together with Calvin, who is well, I actually rather love watching and listening to him because he is a man who's got an opinion. Shall we say that?
Yeah, he's an outspoken man. To me, how did I get together with Calvin? Well, he was obviously around at tournaments, so he was coaching Luke Johnson at the time, at the Futures and Challengers, and was pretty close to. I'd say he is a disciple of Louis Caillet's, which obviously sounded pretty good to me. And yeah,
Yes.
when we first started, I was playing singles, so he was, I brought him in, and he was coaching me singles, doubles, everything. And yeah, I mean, I can't get rid of him because we've done so well. I mean, he's been absolutely instrumental in my success, and I think he's a fantastic tennis coach. His views on other things are, we disagree all the time on everything, but that's quite fun as well. And yeah, I pay him to be my tennis coach, and I think he is absolutely fantastic at that.
He's got a huge personality, hasn't he? And I think there's a lot to be said for that because I've done all the coaching qualifications both in the US and the UK. And you can get a great tennis coach, someone who knows everything. But if they can't convey what they feel, if they can't make you laugh, enjoy what you're doing out there, then what is the point? In my opinion, I'd rather have someone who knows nothing about tennis, but has a big personality and is fun to be around because for me, I know that I would have enjoyed that a lot more. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I'm lucky in that way that he is extremely knowledgeable and has studied the game, at length. At length, he's top qualified coach. He's a level 5 coach.
Yes.
To start with, and also spends a lot of time with the best coaches. Delivers coaching courses. So he's extremely knowledgeable in that sense, and also is very, very passionate. We often laugh. I think it was Vienna last year, and Calvin didn't know, but they had one of those cameras in the coach's box, and we lost the match. But at some point, you see him, kind of like kicking kicking the sign, and he's so passionate. And I would much, much, much prefer to have it that way than the other way around.
Yeah.
Someone, coach kind of sitting on their phone or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's worked brilliantly well, and yeah, we're good mates.
Never a dull moment, I would imagine, with Calvin.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Are you the joke guy? Is he the joke guy? If you need a lift and things aren't going so well, how does he get you up?
I think so when he travels with us, he's coaching me and Harry, and Harry also has a coach, Boris, who is also my coach when he's traveling with us. So
Okay.
to be honest, I think we all share a fairly similar kind of dry English sense of humor. And we're also quite good at kind of taking a step back from the tennis when we need to, and trying to see the bigger picture. I think especially given how quickly everything has happened. Like I said earlier, this time last year we were playing challengers. It's quite easy to say, hang on a second, we might have lost this match, and that's not ideal, but we're generally doing pretty well.
Yes.
And that's important in tennis. When you're playing week in, week out, there's always the next match to focus on. So yeah, we're a good team in that way. We're good at lifting each other up because it can be intense and tough at times.
And we've talked about winning Wimbledon. You could just tell us what that feels like, because I think the rest of us need to live vicariously. But you've also done it at the Australian Open. Just give us an idea of what that feeling is like. I'd imagine it's a bit like a rock star just going on to a rock concert with thousands and thousands of people cheering you.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm a million miles away from being a rock star, I think. But yeah, probably something like that. I mean, Wimbledon was also obviously incredible because we had a full centre court crowd, a court that I have grown up, watching every single year, all cheering for us. So that was, yeah, just unbelievable. And obviously, the match was kind of a crazy match. We saved a few match points and yeah, kind of somehow edged the win. Yeah, it was surreal. I think neither of us could believe that we'd won it. And yeah, it was the best feeling ever, best feeling ever. And yeah, I was looking up at my box, seeing my family, my friends, my coaches, everyone there. All the important people who have helped me along my way. And yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to put into words. I'm sorry. I wish I could.
Imagine.
I wish I could, but it was the best. As a tennis player, I think that is the best feeling that I could possibly feel.
Yes.
In my profession. So yeah,
And you
amazing.
think about it a lot? Do you kind of have dreams about it, or do you just find yourself, if you're driving in the car, thinking about that moment?
Every now and then, I will think about it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, what's really nice is we have the match, all kind of tagged up from after the event on our system, on our computer system that we use for scouting and stuff. So it's there to be watched if I want to. I try not to watch it too much because it's good to try and stay in the present. But yeah, of course, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't watched. Don't watch the highlights every now and then, or because it was the best moment of my professional career, and it was on camera. So of course, every now and then I watch it, and yeah, still can't quite believe what we did. Yeah, so but yeah, it's brilliant.
And then to the Australian Open, different scene, different time of year, of course, different surface, not your own people watching you, but still, I'd imagine an immense feeling.
Yeah, it was extremely different. Not well. I mean, firstly, we went on so late at night after the women's final that there weren't that many people left in the crowd. So it was kind of this huge, mostly empty stadium at 11 p.m. at night. But you're still playing a Grand Slam final, so you're still kind of nervous and anxious and exhausted as well. And yeah, so when we won that one, we were, I think, relieved that it was over. It was a pretty mammoth effort, another long match. But yeah, we had our own corner of Finnish supporters mostly, and a few of my old kind of family friends that were there. So it was nice to celebrate it with them, but a completely different experience to Wimbledon. Yeah.
Hopefully you'll do it again. And we've actually had a neuroscience on the podcast recently. Very interesting. Dr. Nicholas Hauser joined us from Germany, and he's worked with the Liverpool football team, and he's starting to work with some golfers now and some tennis players. And I wondered if you had ever done anything like that, had an EEG attached to your head and seen your brain waves, or thought about kind of moving into that, because it just seems like that might be an untapped part of the tennis world to me.
Definitely, it might be. Personally, no, I haven't. I have a very good friend who I played on my college team with, a Greek guy who was doing his PhD, and he was looking at brainwaves during sport.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of aware that field exists, and it is very interesting to me. I haven't been able to try that out, or I guess be tested in that way, be part of those experiments. But yeah, I mean, certainly like sports psychology generally is now a massive part of what we do. And
Yeah.
yeah, looking at all of those kind of tight moments, I think it is the difference off very, very often is mental. So yeah, I'd be extremely interested to see what my brain waves are like, and if they're probably quite different to Harry's, I would imagine, knowing us quite well. But yeah,
Go into
great.
that. Why would they be, do you think?
I don't know. We just approach tennis in a different way. I think when we're on the court, he gets extremely fired up and is quite emotional, and I'm probably the opposite. I'm more laid back and relaxed, which yes is works great for us. But it would be interesting to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah. So if you're serving for a major championship or any kind of match, would you prefer to be serving with him at the net, given what you've told me, the way you play, or would you rather, just nerve-wise, would you rather be at the net, let him serve?
Well, selfishly, I'd love to have him serving. So the
Yeah.
two perfect examples are the Wimbledon final, which the third set tiebreak, he was the one serving on match point, and he hit a great serve, and I didn't have to do anything, and that was it. Which was quite nice. And then conversely, Australian Open, it was my job to serve out. We were a breakup, and I had to serve it out, and I did so just about.
Yep.
I think on paper, if you look at it, we'd probably both pick me to serve and him at the net.
Yes.
I usually try and serve first in the match, and that's how it goes. I'm lefty, I'm taller, I probably generally have better serving stats than him, and he's actually probably a better service partner than me as well. So, yeah, I'd
Okay.
say that would be a good choice. But
You always got to play to your strengths. So if you were playing for England in the World Cup final, would you take a penalty?
well, probably not, because not very good. No, yeah, I would. No, sort of
You'd like to step up.
from a mental standpoint. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, why not?
I feel the same way. I'd like to take one on. I wouldn't be the one that'd be like, no, thank you. So let's stay with that. The psychology. How much do you work on psychology? Have you got somebody you talk to? Is that part of the British system? And how do you stay calm in the big moments?
So yeah, I mean, certainly, the LTA, Lawn Tennis Association, there are people there for us to utilize. I personally don't. I have my friend who's doing his PhD in that stuff that I talk to every now and then.
Yes.
And so, like, a couple of years ago, did a decent amount of work with him. I feel quite lucky in that I am generally able to stay quite calm in matches. So I don't, for me, if anything, it's kind of the other way around. Like, I need to kind of get myself more fired up, which is quite an easy thing to do. And especially with Harry next to me, he's quite good at doing that for me anyway. So yeah, for me, it's probably an area that I need less with. I know. So Johnny Marais, for example, I know did another Wimbledon champion, did a lot of work. He had very specific kind of routines and
Yeah.
that he would go through before serving, for example. And even watching, well, the one for me was watching the Masters this year with Rory McIlroy, who seemed to be spending an awful lot of time with his water bottle, which I thought just had to be some kind of sports psychology thing. Had to be.
Definitely.
So yeah, you see it everywhere. Yeah.
You can tell that Rory has done a huge amount of work, given that he was needing that one more, wasn't he,
Oh,
to complete the slam, and how tight and how tense that was. And it just brings it all. I mean, you're feeling it, aren't you, watching that? And it's the same when you're watching tennis matches. Do you actually watch tennis? Do you watch the highlights? I asked Novak Djokovic that recently in Monte Carlo, and he said he just likes to watch the highlights, doesn't watch full matches. Do you?
yeah, I'm the same probably. Every
Yeah.
now and then I'll watch a full match, especially if it's people that I know or that I'm invested in, or if it's a big match. Um, what I really like doing, to be honest, is tuning into third set, tie-break doubles,
Yes.
because they just give you the most kind of skin crawling, like nervy moments ever, and yeah, a bit of a thrill seeker in that way. So I and lots of other doubles players just love watching that, and enjoying the fact that we're not the ones out there,
Yeah.
in those tight moments.
It's a bit
So
like
yeah,
a
I think.
sprint finish at the Tour de France. It's exhilarating. I agree. It's because every point is so tense.
Yeah, that's it, and anything can happen. And quite often, there's a big favorite and an underdog. So it's got everything really. Yeah,
Do you have
yeah. So it's
any?
kind of enjoying it at their expense almost, which is
Yeah.
bad, but it's good to watch.
Do you have any bogey players on tour? It's probably difficult for you to answer that, so they might know anyway. Is there anyone that you've come up against that you just find difficult to play against?
Yeah, Yuki Bambry. He's an
Oh,
Indian
yes.
player, and we've played him a few times this year. We actually beat him the last time, but he's beaten us a few times this year. Final of Dubai, Indian Wells. So he's been a bit of a bogey player for us. And yeah, he just returns really well and seems to know exactly what we're going to do at all times. Yeah, we beat him on the clay, which is probably, I would say, his weakest surface. So we managed to get one over on him there. But yeah, I never look forward to playing Yuki. Nicest guy ever, great guy, but never look forward to playing against him.
And then on the other side, is there anyone that you step onto court and you just think, got this?
That's a good question. Not really, to be honest. I mean, it's a dangerous place. If you, it's quite a dangerous place if you go on court thinking, like, this is going to be easy,
Yeah.
because quite often that won't be the case. And if you start losing that match, mentally things can start going downhill pretty quickly. And also, I'm so new to this kind of level of tennis and being in this world that. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for everyone that's doing it, to be honest. So yeah, no one that I know that I'm going to beat. There's not many easy matches out here.
You can't take anything for granted. As you said, you're in Rome at the time of recording at the BNL d'Italia. What kind of difficulty does clay bring to you? And Rome is particularly slow, isn't it? I know from doubles, obviously, you can't crash the net quite as much as you might on a hard court or grass court because of the lob and movement. Is there anything for you in particular that you find difficult on clay?
Most of it, yeah. No, I actually quite enjoy playing on clay, but obviously growing up as a junior in the UK, you don't get the opportunity to play on it all that much.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, doubles, there is less movement involved. But yeah, certainly, it's more difficult to get back to smashes because you're always trying to close the net, and you don't have the same grip as you would do on a hard court. And yeah, players generally just have more time to hit different shots. In doubles, you're always trying to look people to kind of force, or trying to look to force people into certain shots. And on clay, that's more difficult because they just have more time to hit a different shot. So yeah, the singles players all become a little bit more dangerous. They can take bigger cuts at the ball and can hurt you, as we saw with Ben Shelton and Babasori.
Yeah.
Singles players can really, really intimidate you at the net. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but I enjoy it. I love that. I love that we get to play on different surfaces because it brings different challenges and different styles, and I'm hitting more ground strokes and more lobs and that
Yeah.
kind of thing, which is fun, if nothing else.
So embrace it is the answer to that rather than be
Yeah,
scared of it. Mm.
absolutely. Yeah.
And what about the Masters 1000? Hasn't been too many people that I've heard that love the 2 weeks, but it brings a different situation to the doubles players because now, of course, you're playing generally in the second week. So what do you do in the first week? Are you hanging around? Did the tournament pay for your hotels and food? Or do you need to take care of that before you start playing?
Yeah, we need to take care of that. So that's, well, I mean, for me, it's okay because, for example, during this swing, I can go back to London and stay there and train there. So for me, it's not an issue. For a guy who, from South America or Australia, I can see that being quite
Yeah.
challenging. And I know, lots of the American players were in London last week, so either staying with people, hopefully people that they knew, or financing that themselves. So that's quite challenging. From a tournament perspective, it's great for us because the 2 weeks is just way too long to have a tennis tournament, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and in lots of people's opinion. You spend a lot of time hanging around, so yeah, it's nice to be able to. I was able to see my family last week, and be in a place that feels like home. So it's selfishly nice for me, but also brings challenges for other players. Yeah.
And what are you practicing? How are you practicing? I actually was at the All England Club last week and I saw Rajiv and Jamie Murray playing, but that is green clay at the All England. Very few red clay. There's some artificial. But what do you do about that if you're at home?
Well, I was training at the National Tennis Centre where they do have red clay. So
Ah, perfect.
I'm not sure why Jamie and Rajiv weren't there. No idea. But I was on the red clay. And yeah, specifically, we were working a bit on my serve, which has been a bit inconsistent. Kind of first serve percentage on clay is important because, like I said, if you're
Yes.
hitting a second serve in to someone who's got good ground strokes and more time, you can get yourself in trouble. And Harry was working a bit on his backhand return and generating pace from the baseline. Trying not to get out tempoed in rallies. So that's what we were working on. And yeah, the facilities at the National Tennis Centre are phenomenal. We have, as a Brit, I have nutritional support, I have S&C support, physios when I need them, accommodation. So yeah, we were able to stay there free of charge as well. So yeah,
Amazing.
it's an incredible setup, and we were on court with Louis Kaya, who is, I think, safe to say, the best doubles coach in the world. So it
Yes.
doesn't get too much better than that, I don't think.
That's very good. And obviously, as now the best British doubles player, you probably get precedent because I know Louis does it depending on ranking. So you're his number one.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit complicated. It's all a little bit complicated. Yeah, I am, the number one, so I get a little bit of sway in that way. But obviously, I'm playing with Harry, who's Finnish, and we have Julian Cash and Lloyd Glasspool, who are all Brit teams, and Neil and Joe, who are all Brit teams, and they played in the Davis Cup. So it's all very complicated. But luckily, we all get along really well. So we generally try and schedule it so everyone gets a bit of time with Louis, and we're all playing sets against each other and drills against each other. So yeah, it works remarkably well, I would say.
I think that's the most wonderful thing about doubles. I wish actually that I'd done my career again and I would just play doubles. But when I was coming through, it really wasn't anything that people specialized in doubles. But I was much better at doubles, and I liked the team format. And you actually, I would imagine, get to have quite a lot of fun because you're traveling with somebody, you're playing with somebody. There's camaraderie. Whereas in the singles court, and I don't know how you felt when you were playing singles. Maybe it's different for men and women. But women, we find it very difficult. And I'm speaking in general, but I do believe that most women feel this, that you can't make friends too much because you could be playing that person tomorrow. And we don't deal with that well. Men can generally play each other and then, go and have a beer afterwards if that's what you like. But what do you think about that?
100%. I mean, I'm going to back, it's obviously a bit of a, not controversial, but I'm going to back you up 100% because most of the WTA players I've spoken to would say the same.
Yeah.
And, a great kind of example of that is lots of the WTA players have to travel with a hitter because they feel that they can't even practice with their colleagues. And that just doesn't happen on the men's side. You don't really see that. And yeah, I mean, it's probably, well, for me, it's nice, traveling with Harry. We've been through that, we're great friends, we can go out for dinner, all the rest of it. It's brilliant. And as a Brit, it's great because we are, we kind of have to be friends. I mean, luckily they all are great guys, but we spend so much time together that, we are all good friends, and it's nice to see familiar faces, in strange places, I guess. Yeah, it's obviously still very competitive. I think what you see now is the singles players tend to have quite a big team around them. They're making so much money that they can afford to bring those people with them. So they might not be socializing with each other that much, but they will have 4 or 5 people around them that are their friends and their team and their coaches and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, people cope with it in different ways, but yeah, it's obviously it's nice to have people around.
Do you socialize with the singles players? Like, would you socialize with Jack? Would he be out and come and have dinner with you, or do the singles players generally just keep to their own?
Yeah, yeah. Again, like this, the singles and doubles players generally get along extremely well, I think. There's been a lot of press about Opelka, and this kind of rift between doubles and singles players. But I have lots of Kaboli. I played yesterday. We're good friends. Shelton, great friends with Shelton. I saw Mickelson last night. At the same restaurant.
Very
He
nice.
came up and said hi. So everyone's pretty close. And again, the problem is we're traveling together every single week to every single place, so you don't really want to fall out with too many people because
Yeah.
very quickly you'll find yourself with no friends at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone's very pleasant in my experience.
Yeah, you don't want to be alone in the locker room, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Let's go to Monte Carlo because I went for the first time this year and absolutely loved it. That main court is wonderful. I went to where the players stay. The car park was very interesting. There was actually a Maserati next to I think it was a Volkswagen Estate, and the lady pointed out that's Daniil Medvedev's car, and I couldn't quite work out which one because obviously he's got two kids. So I was thinking maybe it was the estate car. It turned out to be the Maserati. But that was a wonderful tournament for me. I love going to tournaments for the first time. You went to Monte Carlo for the first time as well, and I believe you had some problems with those steep stairs.
Yeah, I did have some problems. The problem being that I fell down them. And what was funny is that happened early in the day, and I was on my phone stupidly walking down the stairs, and yeah, completely tripped and fell kind of on my back. I was fine, and looked around, and luckily no one was there to see it. Thank
Oh,
goodness.
that's so annoying.
Thank goodness. Although I'm obviously telling everyone about it now. So, and then later in the day, as we're leaving the site and walking down the same stairs, me, Harry, our coaches, I said, "Oh yeah, I actually took a bit of a tumble on these stairs," and Harry immediately looked at me and said, "So did I." So yeah, the stairs were causing us real issues in Monte Carlo. But other than that, yeah, it was an amazing week. I was lucky to have both my brothers there. So one of them works for Hawkeye, so I see him at a bunch of
Yeah.
tournaments, and the other one came for a holiday. It's not a bad place for a holiday. It was really nice to spend some time with them, which obviously when you're on the road so much, you don't get to do often.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. It's right on the beach. It is one of the most picturesque tournaments. I mean, I'm in Rome at the moment. It's pretty good, but yeah, Monte Carlo is extremely picturesque with the cliffs and the sea in the background. And yeah, we had a good tournament. We made semis. I actually got injured, kind of strained an ab,
Okay.
but took the next week off, and everything's fine now. So yeah, really enjoyed it apart from the stairs.
Do you have a favorite tournament outside the majors? Would you say is number one?
Yeah, good question. I actually really like Rome. The site is massive, and there's a lot of character here.
Yeah.
You've got kind of the statues surrounding lots of the courts, and sort of old stone stands, which you don't see often. Quite often, you see kind of the temporary metal stands, and that's not really the case here. And also, it's packed with fans, which for me always makes a difference. And they are supporting one way or another usually, and they're very passionate about that. So yeah, I love it here. I like Indian Wells. I think everyone likes Indian Wells, but I would say Rome honestly is my favorite,
Yeah.
outside of the slams. Yeah.
It is. I think Pietrangeli Court is my personal favourite court outside centre court at Wimbledon. It's just miraculous. It doesn't look quite so good this year, given that they've
No.
added to the stands and the statues are a little bit hidden. But overall, that is a phenomenal court. I'd like to know if you started your career again, what would you change?
Oh, what would I change? Not
And let's go
a
back to
whole
kind of
lot.
juniors. So when you started, is there anything starting from where when you were a boy all the way up? Are there any like big moments you think, oh, I wish I'd done that differently?
I think so. I went through a phase between the ages of kind of 12 or 11, 12, kind of starting off secondary school, where I was playing kind of once a week, twice a week, and that's quite unusual. And not that I want to change it, but I would also be interested to see, if I kind of was playing seriously during those years, what would have come of that? Would I have burnt out early? Would I be a much better tennis player than I am now? So that's the only thing that I'd be interested to
Yeah.
see is how that would have changed my development. But overall, I'm very happy with my journey. I think I'd be stupid to try and change anything, given where I am now and the experiences that I've had, the people I've met, the places I've been to. I wouldn't change a thing really.
Wow,
No.
that's a great answer. I don't think too many people would say that. And when we do tennis commentary, you obviously do a lot of research into the player's background, and almost always there is a professional athlete in the family or someone who's done particularly well at something. Is that the case in your family?
Uh, no. But that's I don't want to be harsh on them. No, no kind of professional athletes, I would say, but both my parents played lots of sports, at, I would say, a club/county level.
Okay, so they're good.
Lots of
Yeah.
different sports, and I have 3 siblings, all of whom also played tennis and lots of other sports at club and county level. So there's, as a family, our main kind of activities were always sports, always sports. We spent our summers at tennis tournaments, seaside tennis tournaments, as you do as a Brit quite often. Um,
Eastbourne, I'm thinking. Frinton.
Yeah, Frinton, exactly. Frinton and Felixstowe, all those places that are near where I grew up. So yeah, sports have been a massive part of my life growing up, and my whole family's life
Yeah.
growing up. My brother still works in tennis. My dad did a stint in sports marketing for a while, a long time ago. Yeah, we're a sporty family. Yeah, but no, I'm the only professional sportsman, which is nice.
And would you say you have a slightly obsessive gene about you? And I know that comes across badly when you say the word obsessive, but I believe that anyone who does anything at a very high level has to have almost an obsessive gene or something about them that makes them want to do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you can just ask my girlfriend about that because it drives her absolutely nuts. And it's not just tennis. I go through phases of it, it's been chess. It's probably a bit of golf at the moment. It's been, video games. It's been, yeah, I think I'm in a position now where I can look back and kind of see those phases. And yeah, tennis has been the one thing that the only thing in my life that has been constant from when I was 5 years old. It's always been there. And yeah, certainly like the last 5 years, I would say I've spent a lot of time thinking about or playing tennis. And yeah, just wanting to improve like that. I mean, it's amazing that I can turn it into a career. The chess. Yeah, I'm not good enough to turn it into a career. The video games, forget about that. Golf, same thing. But tennis, I obsess over it, and I'm lucky enough to call it my career. So, yeah, I think you're right, and I think a lot of tennis players are the same.
Yeah.
And obviously, extremely competitive as well. Um,
And
that's
now
yeah,
it's the little details, isn't it? Once you do so well, the more you win, actually, you get perhaps a little bit more obsessed about the small details because you know how important those little things are to get to the next bit.
definitely, and yeah, I think tennis and in most sports, as you kind of go up and up the levels, it becomes harder and harder to find those kind of gains and those small little edges. So inevitably, your kind of field of view starts to narrow in on yeah, smaller and smaller and smaller things that can make a difference. So yeah, for me, it's I've kind of tinkering with my rackets or specs or tension or it can be anything on any given week. So yeah, obsessive, I suppose. Yeah.
We just had the racket stringer Kurt Stefan on the podcast. He's kind of the Delray Beach guy everybody goes to between October and December. He said he's so busy doing all the specs, the weight and balances, changing of the racket, the strings. So it's just unbelievable. So you're not the only one doing that. You have a
No.
phobia of flying, I read, and this is a little bit crazy given what you do. Explain.
Yeah, it's a bit of a curse, that one, unfortunately. I think I wouldn't say anymore that I have a phobia of flying. I
Okay.
would say I'm a good example of kind of how exposure therapy can help. But yeah, it was really bad. I mean, it probably came on, early teens, kind of that kind of time, and was bad. Like I remember a couple of family holidays that I borderline ruined by kind of not getting
Ooh.
on the flights because I just had a panic attack or completely lost it. Um, and obviously, similarly, when I decided that I wanted to go to college, my parents were quite nervous about that, knowing my relationship with flying. So they booked me a flight and everything was ready, but they later told me that they had also looked at kind of ferries and kind of alternative ways to get to the States, like this 3-day boat trip that could also get me there just in case. So it really was a real thing. And I still don't enjoy it too much. But obviously I have to do it a lot.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
funny. Are you
yeah.
familiar with the A Team? I grew up during the A Team where they had to knock B.A. Baracus out in order to get him on the flight.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great. And actually, I tried. I was prescribed diazepam, I think, like at some point. I've obviously tried alcohol, and yeah, nothing has helped me. So yeah, maybe I should get someone to just knock me out. There's been
Just
times when I wished that there was someone to knock me out, and I could just wake up at the destination. Sounds much better.
You probably wouldn't feel great though if someone punched you or you'd had a lot of whiskey or something at the end. But anyway, if it comes back, just let me know. My left hook's pretty decent. Final
Thank you.
question for you, Henry. You've been a delight to speak to. If you could have three people on a road trip, a tennis road trip, current players, and you don't have to have Harry. I'm sure he'd like there, but who's in the car with you?
I definitely have Harry.
Okay, good
um,
answer.
I'd have Harry. Honestly, I could say Harry, Julian, and Lloyd Glasspool. We're probably we're our best mates on tour, I would say, and we have a pretty funny time together. We're constantly kind of abusing each other, but are good friends at the same time. So it'd be pretty fun with those three. I mean, I've mentioned them as well, but also going kind of the other direction, like guys like Shelton and Kaboli. I mean,
Fun.
that would
Those
just
those are
be,
guys are fun.
yeah. I'd worry for my health if I was with those two. I don't, you know, they're a bit younger than me, and yeah, that would be kind of different kind of road trip, a crazy road trip. But no, I'm going to stick with Julian, Lloyd,
All
and
right.
Harry. I think that would be a good time.
And if you ever see Kaboli, you mentioned that Candy beat him at basketball. Just remember
Oh,
that.
I
Hamburg
definitely will. I definitely
absolutely
will.
annihilated him at basketball. He's terrible at
Excellent.
basketball. So that's a good one for you. Who with your road trip? Who's controlling the music and who's driving?
I'm controlling the music. I don't. Julian's music taste is probably right. Lloyd's is terrible, and Harry's is also terrible. Um, Harry's definitely driving.
All right.
Harry's a good driver. Yeah.
Harry's a good driver. And what music are you playing? Why is your
Oh,
music so great?
well, to be honest, it's not that my music's great. It's just theirs is rubbish. So if Julian would probably have a country playlist on.
Oh,
Lloyd would be playing a lot of kind of rap and R&B, and then Harry would just be listening to Queen on repeat, which would be great for a bit, but I think after however many hours, it would get a bit boring.
yeah. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, you'd be sort of shooting yourself,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
on hour three, that would be tough, I think.
So one song that's definitely going on the car then from you. What are you
Oh,
picking?
good question. I would say, I've been listening. I would say for me at the moment, and this is based on what I'm currently listening to, is Clever Trevor by Ian Dury.
Oh, I haven't heard
Which would be
that,
quite
but I
funny.
will put it on.
It's
It's a great
To
name,
be
Clever
honest,
Trevor.
it's not a very good song, but it is quite funny. And I've been listening to that. It's a very very British song. So
All right,
that
brilliant.
would be on there. That would be on there.
Clever Trevor it is.
Yeah.
Henry Patten, Australian Open, Wimbledon champion. Good luck for the rest of the year. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been really, really fun to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll be back soon with another great episode.